You cancel plans because their crises drain you. You hide your good news because it doesn't matter next to their pain. And when you finally speak up, you're met with silence or worse, tears that make you feel like the villain for needing space. You've probably asked yourself, am I a bad friend for wanting distance? Am I cold for feeling exhausted? This isn't selfishness. It's your nervous system protecting you from drowning in someone else's emotional current. You might even catch yourself thinking, they're such a drama queen. But what if that drama isn't performance? It's a nervous system screaming in a language it never learned to speak softly. What if I told you their tears aren't manipulation? They're a survival language learned long before today. A language built in moments when no one showed up unless the pain was loud enough to shake the walls. If you've ever felt trapped by someone's pain or recognized this pattern in yourself, you're not alone. This is where healing begins, not with judgment but with understanding. Because real change doesn't happen when we label people. It happens when we finally see the unmet need beneath the behavior and respond with care that doesn't cost us our own sanity. You know the pattern by heart. They turn a cancelled coffee date into proof no one cares. A neutral text, "Hey, are we still on for tomorrow?" becomes evidence of betrayal. You offer practical help. Have you tried talking to HR? Or maybe set a boundary with your mum? And they reply, voice trembling, "You just don't get it." It's not that you don't care. It's that your care keeps hitting a wall built from years of pain that no quick fix can dissolve. And here's the hidden cost no one names. You're not just tired, you're grieving. Grieving the friendship you hoped for, the one where support flowed both ways. Where your joy wasn't minimized, your boundaries weren't punished, and your presence wasn't weaponized as proof they aren't alone. That's why your anger flares. It's not cruelty, it's love with nowhere to go. You want to help, but every attempt feels like pouring water into a cracked cup. And the guilt you carry, that's the price of caring in silence, while your own needs vanish into the background. If you've ever sat in your car after a conversation, whispering, "Here we go again." Pause, take a breath. Comment boundary below. Not as a rejection, but as a declaration. I can care without collapsing. I see you, and you're not failing. You're learning how to stay human while holding space for someone else's storm. But if you're watching this because you're the one called dramatic, needy, or always playing the victim, what if your pain isn't broken? What if it's a brilliant strategy that once kept you safe when you had no power, no voice, and no choice? Let me tell you a story, not about pathology, but about survival. Imagine a child sitting at the kitchen table, clutching a drawing they made at school. They wait all evening for someone to notice the bright sun in the corner, the shaky but proud "I love you" written in blue crayon. But no one looks up. The adults are arguing again, or exhausted, or gone, so the child tucks it away. Days pass, then weeks. They learn quickly, silence gets ignored, calm gets dismissed. But if they cry hard enough, if they fall apart at dinner, if they say no one ever listens with their whole body shaking, then someone turns, then hands reach out, then they're seen, not for who they are, but for how loudly their pain echoes. Do you remember that feeling? The smell of burnt toast during dinners no one spoke at. The way your throat closed when you tried to say "I'm sad," but choked on the words instead. How you learned that being fine meant being invisible, and being in crisis meant being held, even if it was messy. This isn't weakness. This is learned helplessness, a psychological adaptation where the nervous system stops believing it can influence outcomes. So instead of asking directly, "Can you stay with me?" it screams through crisis, "If you leave, I'll fall apart." And it worked. It got you attention, safety, proof you weren't alone, even if it came wrapped in chaos. But here's the quiet truth. Healing begins not when you stop hurting, but when you stop apologizing for needing care. You don't have to earn tenderness by breaking down. You are worthy of it simply because you exist. Today, that childhood strategy wears adult clothes, but the engine is the same. It looks like attention seeking, but it's connection seeking. It looks like weakness, but it's protection. It looks like drama, but it's desperation. a primal signal. Don't leave me. I can't do this alone. This isn't manipulation in the calculated sense. It's a nervous system stuck in an old alarm system, sounding the siren even when the house isn't on fire. Because once the fire was real, and no one came unless the smoke filled the street. Now every minor setback, a delayed reply, a cancelled plan, a neutral tone, gets interpreted through that old lens. This means I'm abandoned, unlovable, alone. And the reaction isn't proportionate to the present moment. It's proportional to a lifetime of unmet needs. Pause here for a moment. Ask yourself honestly, is this about pain or control? Not to judge, but to clarify. Pain says, I'm terrified I'll disappear if I'm not loud. Control says, I need you to feel guilty, so you'll stay. The line can blur, but the intention matters. Comment your answer below. I read every single one, not to fix you, but to witness you. And yes, this pattern can hurt people. Not because the person is cruel, but because unprocessed pain always leaks. It spills into relationships as blame, as urgency, as emotional flooding that overwhelms even the most patient friends. And when people pull away, that withdrawal doesn't feel like a natural boundary. It feels like confirmation of their deepest fear. See, I'll always be alone. So the cycle tightens, the cries grow louder, the walls go up higher. But naming this isn't about blame, it's about breaking the loop. Because once you understand the engine behind the behavior, you can respond with compassion and clarity, not just for them, but for yourself. This pattern doesn't exist in a vacuum. It's amplified, sometimes even rewarded by the world around us. Social media trains us to perform pain for validation. Post a vague cry for help, and within minutes, hearts, comments, DMs saying, I'm here for you. But share quiet progress, a boundary honored, a calm morning after years of chaos, silence. So the subconscious learns, being broken gets love, being healed gets ignored. Toxic positivity makes it worse. Phrases like, just think positive, or everything happens for a reason, shut down real emotion. They teach people that their grief, anger, or fear is inconvenient, so they either bury it or explode it. There's no room for the middle path, feeling pain and moving through it. Even our institutions play a role. In some workplaces, the only way to get accommodations, a lighter workload, mental health leave, is to present as the one who's struggling. In schools, students learn that high distress triggers faster adult intervention than quiet distress. In families, the sick child often gets more attention, so emotional pain becomes a currency. But let's be clear, there's a vital difference between honoring your pain and defining yourself by it. Honoring your pain says this hurt matters. I will tend to it with care. It creates space for healing, for growth, for asking, what do I need to move forward? Defining yourself by pain says this wound is who I am. Without it, I have no voice, no place, no reason to be seen. That's not identity, it's a cage built from old wounds, reinforced daily by a world that confuses suffering with significance. This isn't just personal, it's systemic. We live in a culture that offers endless sympathy for suffering, but rarely teaches us how to process it, integrate it, or transcend it without erasing it. So people stay stuck, not because they want to, but because no one showed them the door out. Until now. Healing begins with small daily choices, ones that honor both your humanity and your limits. If you're the observer, next time they spiral, voice shaking, words spiraling into catastrophe, try this. I care about you, and I can't fix this right now. That's it. No blame, no over-explaining, no guilt. Your calm isn't cruelty, it's an invitation to their strength. It says, you are not fragile, you can hold this, and I'll be here without drowning with you. This isn't abandonment, it's the quietest form of love, believing in someone's capacity to heal, even when they can't yet see it themselves. If you're the one called the victim, try this today, just once. When pain surges, before you reach for proof that the world is against you, whisper quietly, I feel hurt, and I'm still capable. That single sentence does something radical. It separates feeling from fate. It reminds your nervous system that pain doesn't mean powerlessness. You can be wounded and wise, tender and strong. This isn't about suppressing emotion. It's about expanding your emotional vocabulary so you don't have to scream to be heard. Healing isn't about tearing down walls. It's learning to open the gate, just a crack when it's safe. Not because you owe anyone access to your heart, but because you deserve to offer it freely, not frantically. If this freed something in you, if it named a truth you've carried in silence, screenshot this mantra. I feel hurt, and I'm still capable. Tag someone who needs to hear it. Your courage gives others permission to heal without shame. That friend who cancels plans, then calls in tears saying no one cares. They're not draining you to hurt you. They're screaming in the only language they know. See me before I vanish. And if that's you, if you've ever turned pain into proof that you matter, hear this. You don't have to earn care through crisis. You are worthy of it all along. Whether you're holding space for someone's pain or learning to hold your own, you are not responsible for fixing what broke before you arrived. Your job isn't to rescue, it's to witness with boundaries that protect your peace and presence that honors their humanity. Pain is real, but it's not the whole truth. And you are still becoming. Comment seen if this is your journey. Comment help if you support someone walking this path. We reply to comments every day, not with fixes, but with quiet acknowledgement. Subscribe, not for more answers, but for a space where your growth matters. Even when it's quiet,